Hi everyone, my name is Julie Masters, the CEO of Influence Nation. Now, I had been hoping to be able to meet many of you in person and share some of this information with you live from the stage at Prop20. However, unfortunately, life has taken us in a different direction at the moment. I'm here in isolation in my spare bedroom, which is not where I expected to be today, and just doing the best that we can. And in the essence of doing the best that we can, the REA team have done an amazing job of pulling together all the information, all the best information from the day and getting it to you in the ultimate format, which is digital. So I'm so excited to share the content from the day. It is some of my best, most action-ready tools in the field of lead nurturing, and although I couldn't meet you, I wish you the very best in the times ahead.
All right, I wanted to kick off this morning by telling you a little bit about my perfect day. I don't know if any of you here have got a perfect day. I'm going to tell you about mine. My perfect day starts like this. I go into the office, and we work on a lot of campaigns in my office, a lot of launches. And so I go into the office and I check whatever launch we're working on that day. And I look at the launch email, and it's beautiful, and the graphics are beautiful, and the copy's beautiful, and the subject line is beautiful, and the database is clean. And then we press send. We press go. And what happens? Any guesses? What happens in my perfect day? Yeah, the phone starts ringing. Phone starts ringing, over with the sales team. I go over there, I can hear them talking. I can hear the other end of the phone. They're like, oh, so glad you enjoyed it. Oh, that's fantastic. Can I send you some more information? No, you got everything you needed in that one email. That's amazing. I'll just send you a contract? Okay, perfect, we're done. I'm sending it now. Now, who here, raise your hand for me, if your perfect day sounds anything like mine, just sounds a little bit like mine, like you do A plus B and the sky opens and it rains with gold. Yeah, right? Now raise your hand for me. When was the last time you had a perfect day like that? Has it been recently? No. There's usually at least one that I try and hunt down in the break. So why? Why is our perfect day? Why is my perfect day your perfect day? Why is it so elusive? I'm going to put it to you that I think it's because of this number. The number 10. In 2019, the most recent figures that we have at the moment, it takes 10 touch points to convert interest to a sale, an inquiry to a sale. 10 touch points. Now in 2015, it was 5. So it's doubled. The amount of resources that it requires to get a lead to a sale has doubled. Now what is a touch point? Touch point's very easy. Touch point is literally that. It's touching somebody with either something useful, relevant, or interesting. These touch points make the building blocks of lead nurturing. So we need to understand what they are. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about what's changed. What's changed? Now, some might say the economy has changed, that it's created this doubling of resources. And I don't know about you, but Scott Morrison's not taking my calls right now. So there's nothing we can do about that. I want to put it to you that other things have changed. Other things have shifted, specifically the digital world. We now have access to so much information. Hands up any 9 p.m. Googlers out there. I am a classic 9 p.m. Googler. We have access to so much information. We can immerse ourselves in information 24 hours a day, especially the new generations, by the way, who have been trained to follow and educate themselves on people, ideas, and products before they ever make contact. So we now have access to all of this information, and that means that it has changed the very mechanisms of how we research, consider, and select. Now, what does that mean? That means that all leads are still gold. I want to make that point very clearly. All leads are still gold. We are still buying. But what we are doing is we are dropping into the process so much sooner. We are dropping into the process much, much earlier, doing our research much, much earlier. Now, this new phase here, this new research phase that didn't exist before we had our devices, creates a massive opportunity to stand out. I know it doesn't feel as good as our perfect day, but it's a huge opportunity to stand out, and most industries are getting their head around it right now, and there aren't many people doing it well. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about doing it well. So what else has changed? And what does this digital world mean? Well, it's a shift. I'm going to call it a shift from then to now. And if you look at this table, you can see some of the core shifts in there. We're moving from an out-interrupt model, which is the primary form of marketing and sales that we've worked with over the decades. I'm just going to keep interrupting you on as many platforms and channels as I can until you buy from me. So we're moving from this out-interrupt model. Anyone love being interrupted? Everyone just staying at home on a Friday night thinking, if only a telemarketer would call. No? No, we hate it. We hate being interrupted. We hate pop-ups. We hate generalized emails. There's a skip button on YouTube for a reason. So we're moving from out-interrupt to out-contribute. The people that you follow, I promise you, if you look at it and you ask yourself that question, who do I follow? Who have I bought from recently? Who caught my attention? Who am I planning to buy from in the future? They are going to be the people that out-contributed everybody else in that space for you. So we're moving from an out-interruption to an out-contribution model. We're moving from a world where marketing and sales were divided. Mars and Venus. They would barely talk to each other. Now we're moving to this world of permanent feedback loops. Sales try something, get data, feed it to marketing. Marketing give it a go. They then feed the response back to sales. Sales use that response to make phone calls, and so on, and so on, and so on. The faster you can move your way around that loop, the more consistently, the better you're going to get. We're also moving from generic to personalized. Generic blast-out communication to communication that's personalized just for me, just for my needs, where I'm at in the journey. Brand-driven, all about us to all about you. I lose track of the amount of emails that I get that are all about the sender. We don't want to know. We want to know. We want to understand how your expertise meets our needs. If it's a brand-driven to human-driven, trust in brands right now is 35%. Trust in humans is 65%. An email that comes from a human being is 4 to 10 times more likely to get a response. That is huge. If you think about the marketing emails that go out from your office or from you, who do they come from? Do they come from the brand or do they come from a human being? Because that's on its own going to make a massive difference. Collection to action. Again, all of us that are in sales, do you remember the day when you used to collect business cards? Just show my age now. You put them on the desk and you'd be like, one day, I'm going to put those in the database. One day. Now I think we do it with LinkedIn. We do it with Facebook, we do it with Instagram. We're so busy collecting contacts because it's easier than ever before that we've forgotten that the whole idea of influence is to get a group of people from A to B, to get them to take action. It's not the amount of people that you have in your database or you have in your personal network. Brand-focused and product-focused to buyer journey-focused. Again, it's not about you and where you're at, it's about where your customer's at. What questions are they asking at this particular point in their journey? And information-based to story-based. Now, this one is huge. We are hardwired for story as human beings. Story is the primary way that we take action. Story is the only way you reach my emotions. And my emotions is pretty much the only way you're going to engage me, especially right now with limited attention spans. If you look at everything that caught your attention this morning when you scrolled, guarantee you it was a story. We are hardwired for story, and as brands, we need to start getting much, much better at telling epic stories. So, I'm going to get you guys in this morning because it's the best way that we're going to get anything done. What I want you to do, I want you to turn to the person next to you. I want you to have a quick conversation. What brand, individual, or company have you noticed recently that is living in that now column? Just nailing that now column. Who's caught your attention? We can pump up some music. I'm going to give you a minute. Just quickly, because I want you to start getting forensic about noticing who's doing this well. We can pump up the music, conversation with the person next to you. Who's nailing the now column? I asked you to do that because what I want you to do as a result of today, if you do nothing else, as a result of being here with me today, I want you to start getting forensic about this stuff. Who's doing it well? Who have you noticed? Who caught your attention? Why? How? Where? What did they do that you can learn from? Because the ones that are going to dominate in the coming years, they're not the ones that are paying attention to their own industry. They're the ones who are widening out their radar and seeing what other people are doing and going, right, if I wore that hat in my next marketing meeting, in my next sales meeting, what would I do differently? So just very quickly, I've got a minute, literally. Is anyone prepared to share with me a couple of ideas about who's doing it really well? Sorry? Women's football. Tell me about that.
They're talking about the story of the girls coming through and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yes, women's football, they're talking about stories. They're telling the stories of the girls, the backgrounds of the girls. That's why we're seeing such a dominance of attention in that area at the moment, because they're doing it so well. They're doing it on different platforms as well, on different mediums. Absolutely. One more. Wow, so they had behind it. So that was the Australian Ballet. So for subscribers, is that right? They sent out a cast list of who was going to be dancing in 2 weeks to check if you were going to come. And then they showed you behind-the-scenes footage of people in rehearsal. And again, that speaks to another trend that we're seeing that isn't on this, which is the movement from perfection to process. We don't want your perfection anymore. That's why we've moved away from brands. Brands, by their nature, are perfect. We're not looking for perfect anymore. We're actually a little bit with perfect. Reality TV on the rise. What we want is your process. What we want is an idea of what it is to be you, how hard you're working, the blood, sweat, and tears that you're putting in. We don't want perfect, we want process. So I'm going to share with you one of my favorites at the moment. Anyone heard of Vino Mofo? Yes. It's very, I've never asked that question. The passion that people talk about Vino Mofo, they're like, yes. Vino Mofo, for those of you that haven't, revolutionized the wine industry a few years ago. It's basically a membership club where you can buy wine rather than going out to the stores to get it. But here's what makes it special. One of the founders, Justin Dry, he loved wine, but he noticed that no one was ever talking to him. You go into a wine shop, you felt a little bit weird asking questions because there was a lot of wine snobbery going on. You didn't know what questions to ask. And if you're anything like me, you just went, you took your budget, you took the prettiest picture, you put them together, and then you walk out with a bottle. And he noticed that, and he started telling epic stories. He went out there and he started interviewing. He literally got in a camper van and started interviewing the winemakers. What was it about this season that made it special? How's the weather been? What do you love about the land? How's that going to impact the flavor of the wine? He started doing it. It's now grown to a network of millions of dollars in turnover. And 60% of all of their leads come in via lead nurturing. Now, I wanted to understand more. I kept hearing about Vino Mofo, Vino Mofo, Vino Mofo. And so I called my friend Sham, who'd been talking about it a lot. Friend Sham, who lives in Brisbane, and I called her and I was like, hey, hon, you keep banging on about Vino Mofo. Tell me what it is that you love. Like, what is it about it that makes you so passionate? And she said, well, all right. Firstly, it's my friend Nikki. My friend Nikki, she literally used that language. My friend Nikki calls me once every 6 weeks. And she calls me and she says, okay, Sham, I know that you usually run out of wine around about now. She's not an alcoholic, I promise. Usually run out of wine around about now. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the wine things that we've got going on at the moment. Last time you ordered that amazing Shiraz, did you love it? Yes. Well, we've just got this rosé in at the moment. And if you check out our social media channel, Instagram, you'll find that we did a taste test with the team. And we filmed it and we put it out. And so I'll send you a link to it. It's really interesting. But people who love Shiraz are also really loving this rosé. And not only that, but we've done a collaboration with a chef, because I know you love to entertain. We've talked about it. And so if you buy a case of this rosé, we'll also send you a menu that you can use for your next dinner party, which matches some of the wines with some of the recipes. And not only that, but we've actually got a wine tasting in your area coming up. So if you want to come, you're very welcome. I'd love to see you there. And we've also got an incentive at the moment. Now, what do you think that Sham says when she gets that phone call? Yes. She said it's got to the point, literally, where someone from Vino Mofo will call, Nikki will call, and she'll just be like, just stop talking. Just yes. Charge my card, just yes. Now, don't you want people to get to that stage with you and your brand? Just a yes. And this is the beauty of lead nurturing. It's where sales and marketing come together. It's the glue that holds them together. 60% of their leads come in via email, social, phone calls, bringing all of the mechanisms together. Now, I interviewed Justin Dry, the founder. I have a podcast called Inside Influence, and I interviewed him because I was like, you guys are nailing it. I need to understand how. And I called him and I said, what's your biggest mistake? What's the biggest mistake you've ever made? And he said it was this one. We went looking for funding. We went looking for venture capital. And we got the money, but one of the conditions of the money was that we had to do a TV advert. He said, and I didn't feel good about it. I knew it was in the then column. It was everything that we had avoided to get where we were, but it was a condition of the funding, and so we did it. We spent about $4.5 million on this TV ad, and it generated nothing. And he said, and I knew we shouldn't have done it. because it was everything in that then column. It was one message blasted out to many. It wasn't personalized. There was no follow-through with sales so that sales could hold marketing's hand, et cetera, et cetera. He said, and so that was just a complete waste of the money that we had. And so this is the beauty of lead nurturing if you can get it right. $4.5 million versus everything he'd been doing before that. At a baseline was free, and then amplified with advertising. You need more convincing. 20% increase in sales for those that do lead nurturing well. 4 times response rate. If you excel at it, for those that excel at lead nurturing, 50% more sales and 33% less cost. So how do we do it? That's what we're basically here to talk about today. How do we do it? How do we do this? And how do we excel? Because that's where we want to be, right? We excel by providing relevant and practical content that delivers real value. Relevant and practical. I can't emphasize those words enough. And the way that we do that, I believe, and from my experience, is to nail this. Becoming the primary translator of your marketplace. Now, as I said at the beginning, we have no shortage of information at the moment. More information exists now, get this, more information exists now than has existed between the dawn of time and 2013. You have access to so much information. And this interesting flip has happened, where the power used to belong to the people that had the information. Whose parents had Encyclopedia Britannica? Yeah, I remember my parents had it. And I remember the pride that they felt that they were providing this resource for their children. It was a lot of money because the power belonged to those that had access to the information. Now, we all have access to information, and this really interesting flip has happened. Now, we don't follow and buy from and trust the ones with the information. We don't follow the technicians. That's, par for entry. People we follow and buy from are the translators. They are the people who can go into all of that information and translate it for me. Go out to the fringes where I neither have the time, the resources, nor the experience to go, and bring back relevant information for me using my language in easy-to-digest chunks. That is a translator, and those are the people that we are buying from. I was with a law firm just last week having this exact same discussion. They were saying, well, we are technically excellent. We are technically the best in the business. We know more about law than any other firm. What is going on? Why are we finding it so hard to get attention and engagement and win trust? And it's because of this. We're not looking for technicians anymore. We're looking for translators. So how do you become a translator? You do it by thinking in questions. Questions are the future of engagement. Why is that? Because we think in questions. Think about how you search. You search in questions. By 2022, the predominant of searches will be voice. Who's got a Siri or a Google Home, Alexa, you name it. Most search will be in voice. And how are we going to search when it's voice? In questions. The future belongs to those that understand the questions of their target market, that have become a student of the world of their target market, understand their questions, understand their language, and then own the answers. And this is what a translator does. So what I want you to do, very quickly, I'm going to give you a minute again, because I really want you to start these conversations. I want you to see if you can come up with a few questions. What are the challenges of your target market in relation to what you do? What are the opportunities that they have that they may not even know that they have, and that's powerful? What is the process? What questions do they have about the process? And what questions do they have about some of the trends? Some of the things that as an expert you know. I'll give you 1 minute, quick conversation. What are some of the questions of your target market? And here's a key. They don't all have to be questions you can answer. So if we could pump up the music, 1 minute, guys. Own the questions. Own the questions of your target market. Keep a list, keep a question radar. I literally, on my iPhone, I have a note. You know notes on your iPhone? I have a note, it's just called questions. Anytime a customer, anytime a potential customer asks me a question, I write it down. I educate myself on it if I don't know the answer. I'll send them some information. I'll do a podcast episode on it, an article on it, a video on it. Own the questions of your target market, because that is how, more and more so, how we're going to search and engage. So we've talked about the why lead nurturing is important, and a little bit about the high-level trends that are driving this. Now I want to talk to you about the how, because that's what we're here for, right? There are 3 parts to a best practice lead nurturing equation. Number 1 part is this, knowing your target market. Now, I know for some of you, you have multiple target markets, and that's fine. Many companies have between 3 and 5. Some people just have 1. We call them avatars, which is just a fancy way of saying target market. Every single target market has some core drivers, some core behavioral drivers. They also have some core questions. Now, at a minimum, you should know that about every single target market that you have. What are their core drivers, and what are their core questions? At a minimum, you should have 3 to 5 in that column. And then what happens after that? Well, then you combine it with the next part of a lead nurturing equation, and that is the buyer journey. Different target markets ask different questions at different stages of their journey. And we have to really nail this. Do you remember I said that this explore and prioritize phase is much longer than it ever has been, and that's your opportunity to stand out? We have to know what questions our target market are asking at what stage of their journey so we can answer them. I'll give you an example. I was looking to sell an investment property. My husband and I were looking to sell an investment property last year, and we were looking to buy a home. And at the beginning of that journey is the kind of the dreamy phase, right? Where you're dreaming about the home that you're going to buy, and you're dreaming about the price that you're going to get for your investment property, and it's kind of that's the 9 p.m. Googling phase. And I have a lot of questions during that phase, such as, what possible price could I get? Who should I be talking to at this moment? Who might be interesting for me to explore this journey with? In the middle phase, you're starting to get a little bit more realistic, right? You're starting to figure out exactly what your budget is, exactly what you might get. I have different questions in that phase. At the end, my questions get nailed right down. I want to know about tax implications. I want to know about how we're both business owners. How does that impact things? I want to know about, for my kids, how this is going to impact them. We have different questions at different phases. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The third part. We all have core content drivers. The majority of content drivers can be nailed down into 4 main areas. The first one is brand. I said trust has moved from brands to individual. It's not quite true. Brands are still mightily, mightily important. Brands are who we look to for credibility, for infrastructure, for efficiency. Brands is associated around trust. Do you have the backing behind you to make this happen? So we want to understand about brand, and that driver is trust. The second, we want to understand about your service or your product. And that driver is excitement. Talk to me about why this is going to be great. Talk to me about how you're going to help me. Talk to me about how you're going to hold my hand. Third one, journey. What questions am I asking right now? What questions should I be asking that I'm not asking? What am I going to need to know 2 steps from now? Be ahead of me. And the fourth one is incentive. And the driver behind that is urgency. If I move right now, why is that better than moving a month from now? If I press go right now, why is that better than 6 weeks from now? Those are the 4 content drivers that usually make up a lead nurturing journey. Now, when you put them all together, what does it look like? It looks a little bit like this. Now, this is a content plan. Not only is it a content plan, it is a lead nurturing plan, it is a sales training plan, it is a presentation plan. It is the minimum we should know about our target markets if we're going to be engaging, get attention over the long run, over that increased journey. So what have we got? We've got brand, trust, service journey, incentive. What questions am I asking about the brand in the awareness stage, in the early stage of my journey? What questions am I asking about the brand in the middle stage? What questions am I asking about the brand in the late stage? Same with service, same with journey, same with incentive. And again, doesn't have to be questions that only you can answer. So what I want you to do, this is the last time I'm going to get you to do something. What I want you to do, turn to the person next to you. Can you just put a few questions in those boxes? The ones that come to you most. Just a few questions in a few boxes to get your brain thinking about this. If we can pump up some music, 1 minute. How many questions can you fit in how many boxes? This is an example of what it can look like. Now, I'm going to say it again. This is the minimum you should know about your target markets. The minimum you should know, and you also need a place to put it. And I don't mind where you put it. I don't mind where you put this data. I don't care if you have the sexiest Salesforce system on the planet or you have a scrappy Excel spreadsheet. I don't mind, as long as you use it. and you have a place to put this stuff so you can access it easily and have it drive what you need it to drive. So you know I said to you that they don't have to be questions that you can answer. They don't. The good news about lead nurturing is that it's rarely about you. This doubling of resources does not have to be a doubling of your resources. The great news about having a forensic question radar is that you don't have to be the one to answer them. A massive trend that we're seeing at the moment that's getting incredible acceleration is using collaborative independence. People who are in your network that have the eyes and the ears of your target market who are non-competing with you. And then you go out to them, a financial advisor, mortgage broker. Go out to them and you say, look, we've been paying close attention to the questions of our target market, and what we've noticed is there's a good 10 questions here that you would be best placed to answer. Would you help us? Can you put together a blog post, a video, some success story videos? Do a webinar? That would be amazing. We'll share it with our database. What do you think their answer is going to be? Yeah. And then what do you think, if they put all that time and effort into it, what do you think they're going to do with it? Share it. You get it's called the halo effect. We can keep talking to our networks, or we can start working with other people that have the eyes and the ears of the people that we want to talk to and get them to share it. That's when you grow exponentially. So you do not have to be the one that does all of this. It works better, I trust you more, when you can connect me with a group of trusted experts, your team. So what next? What do I want you to do? I want you to have a data obsession. I want you to have a place to put all of this. I want you to have a place where you can say, you know, this person just came in, they're at this point in their journey. This is what they're interested in. Here are some of their core questions. Start clustering those questions together. And again, I don't care where you put it. A question bank, at the very least, a page on your iPhone, on your notes, that just says questions. Start keeping note of it. Sales and marketing collaboration, what I want you to start doing, if they are separate teams, is I want you to start having regular meetings if you're not already. Feedback loop. From sales, hi, I've really been noticing that this question keeps coming up again and again and again and again. I've got a list of 5 questions I got asked last week. Marketing, that's fantastic. We can reach out to such and such, such and such. We can do a video on this. Goes back again. Marketing feeds it back to sales. Sales makes the phone calls. Feeds back. I don't think that really worked. I don't think it really answered the question well enough. Let's go again. It's the speed of execution that's going to work. I have a saying, if I ever wrote a book, I would call it, it's version 8. It's always version 8. The sucky part is you've got to get through versions 1 to 7 before you get to version 8. So the more you can iterate, the better it's going to get. Humanize, using human language, understanding the language of your target market. We do not use your language. I do not use your language. They have their own language. Your job as a student of their world is to become fluent in their language, not yours. That's what gets cut through. And then finally, measuring methods. As I said, measurement, trying again. Measurement, trying again. Measurement, trying again. Just keep moving. Wear the hats of the different companies. If you think a company's doing it really well, go into your next meeting and go, all right, everybody, if Airbnb were going to do this, how would they do it? Spend 5 minutes having that conversation, and I promise you, ideas will come out of that that you would have never got to if you'd have stayed with your own hat on. So finally, I'm going to leave you with this. This is a quote that I love. It's a quote from Billy Rose, one of the largest real estate agencies, founder of one of the largest real estate agencies in the USA. I think they did $2 billion last year. And when asked about the primary driver of what they do, he said that. We don't sell real estate. We're lifestyle storytellers. And that, I think, is the key to lead nurturing that I would leave you with. Telling the right stories to the right people at the right time in their journey, consistently. Thank you very much for your time.